When a high-profile character gets themselves involved, probably through their unscrupulous behavior, in a rather sticky situation, they will oftentimes hire a crisis management team to help them navigate the very interesting waters of the situation that they've no doubt created. And I was watching the newest Gilead Graduation that was just released on jehovah.org, and I thought to myself during one of the talks, is this the religious equivalent of hiring a crisis management team to help cover over the interesting decision making that the leadership has done? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today we are looking at another Gilead Graduation. Quickly before we get into it, don't forget to drop a like on the video. It takes 1 second, it's free, and it really is the best way that you can help support the channel and, help ensure its continued growth and all that good stuff. I don't really know what I'm saying with some of these intros. And hey, if you're considering subscribing or you like this type of content, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 45,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
That is one big pile of shit.
With all that being said, for those that don't know what the Gilead Graduation even is, back in the day, all throughout the history of the organization, this was a school set up by the Watchtower organization to train people to be better missionaries. So they would go to the school for 5-6 months, get a super uber indoctrinated, and then they would send them out into different places all over the world for them to try and recruit Jehovah's Witnesses. These were like the RoboCops, the best of the best. They were the SEAL team here that would be sent out to try and do some recruitment. And that has taken a very different shift lately. Now the Gilead School is more for training corporate leadership is the easiest way to say it. So this is just a upper management training program that people essentially go through. And after they spend the 5-6 months doing the Gilead School, they will be sent out and be what's called a branch overseer more often than not. And what a branch is just every region of the world is sort of subdivided into separate categories, and these will fall into a branch territory, a regional manager, if you will. So this is the regional manager training course, essentially. So hopefully that can help get people up to speed about what the heck we're even talking about. So it's important to at least understand what the Gilead School is, because when he's going to be giving this talk, Jody Jedley, he's a member of the governing body. They are the level of Jehovah's Witnesses that exist on earth. God pisses in their ear and they spit something out, and apparently that's supposed to be the real truth about how you should live your life and what you should do with your future. Beats me, I don't know, but hey, that's what their role is, or at least their professed role is. Now, when he's giving this talk, he is addressing these upper management people, and he's talking about how they can stabilize people in the organization. And it's such an interesting way of thinking about it. Like, how are you going to stabilize? And the obvious question that I would ask is, well, why do they feel destabilized? Why would they need this stability? And it's very obvious, especially if you are a leader of this religion, that the decisions that they have been making lately and all of the rapid changes to rebrand their entire religious order have caused a lot of people to start asking questions about the validity of the claims past and present, and how those claims are aligning with that individual's future. So the Watchtower leadership has made a lot of decisions that have destabilized their entire organization in an effort to rebrand. And now they're going to be having these people sent out trying to stabilize the organization because of that destabilizing thing that they've done. So anyway, let's listen to Jody Jelking, or whatever the heck his name is, and as he tries to encourage people to help others.
Satan doesn't like the fact that there are 9 million and counting that are enjoying a spiritual paradise, thousands entering into it each week, and we want even more to come and enjoy that spiritual paradise. So during your Gilead experience, you've been stabilized and strengthened so that you can now take this course, what you've learned, your relationship with Jehovah, and go out and do the same with others, strengthen and stabilize. Now, as you depart Gilead, we want you to keep showing insight so that you keep winning favor. So scripturally speaking, what is involved in showing insight? Well, one reference work states that the original language expression for keen insight describes the capacity for good sense, sound judgment, and wise opinions. Another stated that it is the ability to see into a situation, look beyond the obvious. It relates to intelligent knowledge of the reason, and it is the kind of knowledge that enables a person to act wisely and have success.
So this is a interesting little trick that Watchtower will deploy every so often, and it is mostly just posturing. It is shield waving, saber rattling, trying to look tough, trying to be something that you just aren't. And he's using a scripture in Proverbs, I cut it out, doesn't really matter, and then giving their biblical definition of keen insight, and all of the things that he says here, looking past the obvious, really breaking down the situation so you understand it. All of that will make people feel a certain type of way, but as soon as it comes to the action, actually making decisions, they have to follow the rules. And let's be clear, Watchtower has a lot of rules that you have to follow. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no gray area. It's follow the rules, or we'll find someone who will follow the rules. That's it. If you're an elder or a branch overseer, whatever the case is, and you ask the governing, let's just come up with a hypothetical situation. If the governing body decides that they need to sell a kingdom hall, and they say, hey, we need you to sell this kingdom hall and redirect everyone to different congregations. And you come back to them and say, well, we actually have a lot of people that lack transportation, and we've done a lot of deep research, and they're not actually going to have any available bus routes in order to make it regularly to kingdom halls. There's a lot of situations that might be at play here. Do we need to sell this kingdom hall, or is it possible that we could look into some other areas that we could do this? Watchtower will come back and say, sell the dang kingdom hall. We told you to do that. Do it now. Everyone else be damned. They don't care about anything else. They just want you to do the thing. So he's telling them, hey, have this special insight. Look into problems deeply, whatever the issues or circumstances might come up. And if people do that, the leadership will say, well, that's cute, but we need you to follow the thing that we told you to do. So this is all just posturing. This is all language to make people feel like a lava cake, all ooey and gooey inside. But at the end of the day, they're a brick. They need you to be tough, hard, serve a purpose, and that's it. And if you can't be a brick, they'll find someone that can be a brick.
All of that makes sense. Everyone would agree that we should show good judgment. We should look beyond the obvious. So the concept of showing insight doesn't seem like rocket science. So why the reminder here in the book of Proverbs? Because in real life, showing insight isn't always easy. We encounter different people, different spiritual, theocratic circumstances. Add to the fact that we're imperfect humans with different opinions, different backgrounds, different culture. Add to it in our assignments, we work with other departments that may not have the same priority that we have. And to top it all off, you or the other person perhaps didn't sleep very well the night before. And guess what? Showing insight can be tough.
So he is acknowledging, hey, guys, the world, it's a dynamic place. Hell, someone might just not get a lot of sleep the night before, and that could cause some problems. But at the end of the day, when you clear all of that smoke, what is the Watchtower organization? It is a pyramid. Someone's on the bottom, someone's above you, and there are people at the top. And usually when it comes down to decision making that's going to be impactful to someone's life, they have to answer to the person one step above them, and so on and so forth till you get to the governing body, and they answer to an invisible man that lived 2,000 years ago that was resurrected in took the keys to the kingdom in 1914. Anyway, they have to answer to Jesus is what I'm saying. So At the end of the day, none of that matters. All of that, like the circumstances and the personalities and all of the stuff that he mentions, none of it matters. The only thing that matters is, what did the person above me on the pyramid say? That's it. Full stop, end of story. If you're an elder, the circuit overseer will make the final decision. If you're a circuit overseer, the zone overseer will make a final decision. If you're a zone overseer, the branch overseer will make a final decision. Only the person above you, only their opinion matters. They have the final say. So all of that stuff is just, again, it's just posturing, because none of it matters.
Take the example of Moses. Now, Moses was a faithful, spiritual man. He had Jehovah's favor in his life, generally speaking. But did he have Jehovah's favor on the way he handled the matter of the Israelites needing water at Meribah near Kadesh? He was in a tough spot. He was under pressure, and when he struck the rock, he got water. Sadly, Moses didn't show insight that day. He didn't give Jehovah glory. He didn't handle the people correctly. He didn't strengthen or stabilize. The account also highlights that while we can have Jehovah's favor or blessing, generally speaking, in our lives, there may be times that we don't have it when we handle a specific matter. Now, Moses didn't lose his assignment. He remained the leader of the nation. But he was disciplined, and he lost a future assignment because he didn't show insight that day. So we need to show insight, especially when it's difficult.
So the example of Moses. Moses didn't give glory to Jehovah, but he took glory for himself. Wasn't belonging to him to bring all the praise and honor to himself. That would be an incredibly dishonorable thing to do in the eyes of God, wouldn't it?
The governing body was very clear.
The governing body has directed.
The governing body has approved.
The governing body is very much aware of all of this.
With the governing body's approval,
the governing body has approved.
The governing body has decided that.
The governing body has decided.
The governing body, these brothers, as soon as they see Jehovah's direction,
The governing body has chosen.
The governing body really felt Jehovah's direction when making that decision.
The governing body has directed, and the governing body first made this identification.
But the governing body wanted me to share with you, especially.
Notice what the governing body conveyed.
That the governing body had determined.
the governing body directed.
What adjustments has the governing body made? The governing body has thus far approved.
The governing body approved.
At the direction of the governing body.
The governing body has decided. The governing body has concluded. The governing body has decided. The governing body is confident. Well, so has the governing body.
The governing body has asked me to read. The governing body has concluded. The governing body does not have an issue.
The governing body asks that I pass along to all of you.
The governing body has approved. The governing body requests that.
The governing body decided to.
The governing body directed.
End of the announcement from the governing body.
A real head scratcher. I don't think that there are very many Jehovah's Witnesses that have been in the organization for a long time that haven't noticed the language shift. The common vernacular within the Jehovah's Witness organization has expanded to include the governing body in prayers, in giving thanks, in giving praise. And that's because they say it themselves. The governing body has decided this. The governing body chooses to do this. The governing body is doing all of this stuff. And it seems, at least from my perspective, that they're kind of doing what Moses had done. And it's even more shocking because when they do make mistakes, they have publicly said that there is no reason for them to apologize either.
Nor is an apology needed for not getting it exactly right previously. We understand this is how Jehovah operates. He reveals matters gradually when it is needed. And also, the governing body is neither inspired nor infallible.
But the most interesting thing about this little section here is how he says that Moses, he lost a future assignment is all. Brother, This dude's whole existence for the latter half of his life was promised land, baby. We got to get to the promised land. We got to do the promised land. I'm going to lead the people into the promised land. And then he wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to get that final goal. The entirety of his life was trying to get to the promised land. And he had to watch as the rest of the nation did it from a distance. That was his punishment. He didn't ever get to see the reward for all of his hard work. This wasn't just the loss of a future assignment. This is a massive deal. And I for the life of me can't understand how he's contextualizing it in this way. I can only, the only thing that pops in my head is that now that he's in this position as a governing body member, he doesn't really want to say, yeah, if you mess up and you are a leader, then you are going to be a failure. You are going to not get your reward, the reward that you have been seeking for your entire life. You don't get to go to, so in his case, you don't get to go to heaven. You don't get to be with Jesus and, kill Wally during the great day of Armageddon or anything like that. You don't get the reward that you've worked your whole life for. He doesn't want to say that. So he says, oh, it's just a loss of a future assignment. Absolutely fascinating, especially coming from these delusional dunderheads who are just fraught with mistakes and flip-flops and changes and a kooky doctrine that half of the people don't even understand or know what it is or where it's going. For him to say that in the context of everything that is happening within the organization currently is so strange to hear. But again, I just want to go back to how I'm thinking about this talk. I mean, if you agree, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But it just sounds like that crisis management team. He's just trying to prep them for the hard work of being his crisis management team.
We first recognize that Jehovah is the source of insight. He instructs us. He does so through his word, the Bible, his Holy Spirit, the organization, as well as our fellow worshipers. Then with that, when we've aligned our opinions, our ideas with Jehovah's way of handling things, then we go about handling the matter. We imitate his qualities and way of acting. And you've been doing this.
So this is why it's all posturing. This is why it's nothing more than a Bangalore smoke. Well, if you don't know, I guess if you don't play Apex Legends, you have no idea what the heck I just said. That was a random reference. It's a smoke grenade. You can't see. It makes things blurry. Shout outs to the 4 people that have actually played Apex that know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm going to derail myself here. But this is why it's just all utter nonsense. He says that how you get insight is from God's word as interpreted by the governing body. You get it from the Holy Spirit, which is invisible. You can't measure or trace, but only what the governing body tells you the Holy Spirit is saying, and the organization, which is led by the governing body. So all of that insight, all of that stuff he was saying earlier doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, he correctly identifies where people will get their ultimate insight, where he wants them to get the final answer. It's from them. It's from the leadership. It's top down. It's a pyramid scheme. Now, this next section of the talk is when we really get into that crisis management narrative about how they can use this keen insight that they get from the governing body, quote unquote Jehovah, and give it to the rest of the organization. So this is where things really get interesting.
How about sisters? Is showing insight and stabilizing the congregation just for the brothers? Not at all. Sisters play a tremendous role in strengthening and stabilizing the congregation. Half or more of the publishers are generally sisters. That's a pretty important group to stabilize. Likewise, let the older women be reverent. And we'll pause there. All of you are reverent or spiritual sisters who respect Jehovah and his organization. And I do want to clarify that I'm not calling any of you older. It goes against every rule of speaking to sisters about age. But as you go to your congregations and assignments, you may find that there are sisters who are younger than you. Now, how can you help? Let's look at verse 4. So that they, the sisters, may advise the younger women. See your role? As spiritual women, you can help the younger sisters in the congregation, strengthen and stabilize them. We'll take an example. Situation where a younger sister who lived at home with her parents, but her parents were not in the truth. Now, she was a fine sister. But once in a while, and although her clothing was never alarming, the clothing at times could have been a bit more modest or well-arranged. Now, remember our definition. Insight requires that we see beyond the obvious. Some sisters showed personal interest and realized she had limited funds, and her parents, who were not in the truth, were not going to buy her a brand new wardrobe for the meetings and the ministry. So is counsel really what was needed? Some sisters gathered some funds and took her shopping. Now, the takeaway here is not that shopping is a sign of spiritual insight. Just so happens that in this case it was. But
So I figured people might click off of the video if I played like a full 5-minute clip of him talking. So before this, he talks about a situation for elders, and he says 2 elders are going to counsel a sister because she's irregular at meetings, and they go and they beat her over the head with the Bible and remind her of the importance of the meetings. But then it turns out that the reason she wasn't able to attend all the meetings wasn't because of not wanting to go, but it was because her unbelieving husband wouldn't allow her to use the car to show up to the meetings. And then he talks about how the elders were not using insight in this instance. And so then he talks about this example of some sisters in the congregation noticing that maybe someone didn't have clothing that would be normative within the rest of the people within the organization or that specific congregation. And so they took action to help her. They're like, hey, let's go shopping, boom. So they actually had insight. So the reason I just wanted to bring this up briefly was it's funny that the examples that he chose were of women being able to have insight, sisters being able to see what the problem actually is and solve it, versus the brothers, the elders, who were just beating people over the head with the Bible. And it's just funny to me because you have this very obvious thing. It should just be blatantly clear as day to anyone looking at the situation that a variety of different perspectives and opinions is usually going to yield better results, especially in instances like this. He's talking about an example where if a sister was allowed to be an elder, I bet you she would have had more insight, more humanity, and not just beaten someone over the head with the Bible and a Watchtower magazine. And yet the organization refuses to let that happen.
One more area where we need stability, adapting to change. Changes in where we live, where we serve, changes in our assignment, changes in how the work is accomplished, changes in tools and technology. And change can make us nervous and anxious. That's normal. All of you right now are adapting to some change. So how can you be a stabilizing force during times of change? Well, for a moment, we'll talk here to the brothers. At times, you may be involved in making decisions that will cause changes for someone else. Don't take that responsibility lightly. You want Jehovah's favor on those decisions. Insight will help you stabilize the friends as adjustments are made. Now, we know what the verse means. Jehovah here is saying that he will affect change. And don't we see that today? Seems like every week we've got a change. So Jehovah is causing things to happen. And it's good. Copper is a wonderful metal, but gold is better. So we like to see Jehovah doing these things. But therein lies the change that can sometimes cause us anxiety.
So there is an interesting phenomenon that happens whenever Watchtower makes any type of change, especially the significant ones. They come out and they say, we're no longer counting time. The brothers, they can have a goatee like Jork and Jedley over here. And the subscriber numbers on the JW Thoughts YouTube channel always will go up. within like the first 3 days after they make a major change, I'm not even joking. Like the when you look at it on a chart, it's really funny to look at. But it'll go up by like 1,000 subscribers. Just like boom, in like a couple of days. It's like really mind-blowing. And you think, okay, Watchtower makes a change, has a destabilizing effect, people leave their organization. Right? So that's what's happening. So this is why I look at it as a crisis management team that he's trying to assemble. Okay, guys, they obviously look at the numbers and see like, okay, we made a major change and this is what this is the effect that it's had on our numbers globally. So he's looking at that like, okay, what can we do to like make this better? And I think it's to train people or attempt to train them on how to make it the changes that the Watchtower does make easier to accept. And they've been alluding to this a lot lately. It's a theme that they keep mentioning. And a lot of people in the comments have like mentioned this over probably the past 2 years. Is it feels like Watchtower has like a really big whopper that's about to happen. And they've been like preparing people, like slowly easing their way towards something. And again, I just feel like this really fits that narrative again. And not to get like tinfoil hat speculation on what that might be, but it really feels like something big is going to be announced. And they're trying to do their best to prepare people to accept that change. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see exactly what that is. But it's just interesting how they can't have a moment of self-reflection and realize, wait, why are people feeling unstable? Why do they need to be stabilized and strengthened? Well, look at the numbers, bud. It's because of the decisions that we make when these changes happen. He even says it. Oh, it feels like every week we have a change on the way. And there's more to come in the future. So I find it really, really fascinating the way that he talks about this, especially being a newer governing body member. Usually you hear the older governing body members give this type of talk, but hearing it come from one of the younger ones is very interesting. But let's hear him yap a little bit more as he talks specifically to the brothers, remember, about how the decisions that they make can affect someone. And his really rather poor advice that he gives, because like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people think or how they feel about any change. They have to accept it. And that's it.
You think about changes that may happen. If a new press can print more literature using fewer people, it's obvious that there will be changes in assignments. But how do we get through the adjustments? Did you notice what it said about overseers? He would assign peace and righteousness as the overseers and the task assigners. In other words, you brothers can help people get through the changes. Interesting thought there. It would be unrighteous on Jehovah's part to forget the hard work that someone has done. But we're just changing the hard work that they've been doing. We still never forget the people when the adjustments are made. Righteousness dictates that when changes or refinements are made, copper to gold, we still remember the people we serve with and all that they have done. We show compassion as we make those adjustments. As overseers, we can't just put our blinders on and focus only on the work. To stabilize the friends, we need to know them. So as overseers, ask yourself questions. Will you step out of your office and talk to the brothers and sisters? Will you ask them about their family, their challenges, their opinions, their suggestions? You'll find that some may enjoy a particular change and others won't. Do you know which group the person is in and how to help them with the change? Now, this doesn't mean we don't make the change. Jehovah says there will be refinements. But because Jehovah never forgets the work and the love his servants show, we never forget the work and love that his servants show. We help people through the adjustments. Then we will have Jehovah's favor.
How do they feel about the changes? How is it going to affect their family, themselves? What is it going to mean for them? I mean, the changes are going to happen anyway. It's unfreaking freaking believable. He doesn't get it, does he? He really does not understand the dramatic effect that the decisions that are made at Watchtower HQ and how those will impact people. And instead of thinking, man, we need to be very careful with the changes, we need to be very careful with the rules that we make, they like playing God and then telling people they're not sorry for when they get it wrong. It's unbelievable. It's like there's this little moment of self-awareness. He's like, the changes are going to happen. Don't get me wrong, but consider their feelings. Why? So you have people out there that will say, they're there. Hey, they're there. They don't care about how it will affect people. They don't care if a decision or new light is going to offer protection to people. They don't care. At the end of the day, the leadership is going to do whatever they want. They're going to take the organization in whatever direction they think that God is whispering to them. And that's it. They don't care about individual witnesses and how it's going to affect them, or even large swaths of witnesses. I mean, he's talking to people that are going to be the, overseers and Bethels all around the world. And one of the things that they've been doing more and more lately is saying, hey, we're putting age limits. If you've been at Bethel for this amount of time, at the annual meeting, it hasn't been released on jw.org yet, but I've already covered it in a separate video. Kenneth Cook gave a talk talking about their future plans for Bethel, how they want people to be there for shorter periods of time, not to be viewed as a lifelong assignment anymore. So you can come, work hard for a couple of years, and then boom, we'll kick you out and you go live your life. That's a massive change to their organization that I guess not all Jehovah's Witnesses are completely aware of quite yet. But when you have that, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be kicked out of Bethels all around the world that have lived there their entire life. Their whole world, their whole assignment has been to produce magazines. Well, we don't really produce magazines anymore. So, bub, sorry. You get the axe, you get the pink slip. Go out there and try and make it in today's economy as a 60-year-old with no retirement. And can you even get Social Security? I suppose you would have to be able to get Social Security if you've never contributed to it, though. I don't really know the answer to that question, if I'm completely honest with you. But you get what I'm saying, is they are putting people in impossibly difficult situations. Older Bethelites that have been there their entire life. They don't have kids. Some of them don't have families. And you're throwing them out there into the wolves and say, hey, best of luck to you, pal. That is going to be a massive change for someone. And the best that they're going to offer is they're there. It's going to be okay. They're there. Very, very interesting talk that he gave here about stabilizing people. Again, the way I'm perceiving this is he is trying to assemble the crisis management task force here. Avengers assemble. We need people on boots on the ground that are going to help with the oncoming crisis. One of those crises that is going to be that will need to be managed is when they start kicking people out of Bethel, which they've been doing for a few years now. But as I said at the annual meeting, they're going to accelerate that greatly. Put on top of that, Zizi, what are you doing in the closet? Zizi. Thank you. Sorry. Anyway, Zizi distracted me. I was saying something. You guys get the vibes of this talk. I found it very interesting. There will be a section on the inside story. I can probably put that video together. Maybe I'll do it again tonight and just change my shirt, and then you won't even know when I recorded it. Movie magic. Anyway, with all that being said, that's the end of this video. If you've made it this far, please don't forget to drop a like on the video. If you're on a mobile device, I believe you can hype the video. That is YouTube's new way of getting people excited or recommending things in the algorithm. So if you're watching this on a mobile device, consider hyping it. All of that good stuff. Stay safe. Be kind. And don't forget to spend more time loving the things you love than hating the things you hate. Now go out there and have a good ass day.